There we see
the do it, wouldn't you all?
I know how good equipment is. We almost won Watkins Glen together, Bill Davis and I. Boy, they're good people to drive for.
Jeff Gordon going rim riding.
Has some help. That's Kurt Busch and the Sharpie car right behind him. And that Bill Davis car right on the inside of it.
Gordon running in 12th right now. Racing Ward Burton for 11th. Remember, Kurt Busch is not on the lead lap. We've just completed 200 miles of the 500 that'll make up this afternoon's race. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. Next Saturday at 1 Eastern, horse racing returns to NBC for the 18th edition of the Breeders' Cup World Thoroughbred Championships from historic Belmont Park. The best horses and jockeys in the world gather for the Breeders' Cup. 8 championship stakes races on racing's richest day next Saturday, 1 Eastern on NBC.
That's 1 horsepower, and these cars have about 450 of those horses right under the hood, and that little spot under the hood. It's amazing.
Not going to be any restrictor plate on that horsepower next week, though.
No, we will not close up his nostrils. He will be able to breathe cleanly.
Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Somewhere, Michael. Just keep your eyes open.
Right behind Michael Waltrip. The Dale Earnhardt Incorporated teammates running first and second.
What's Michael going to do if he sees the debris down there at 190 miles per hour?
Hit it.
Hit it. That's all he can do.
Was report of possible debris in turn 2. NASCAR looked it over. And by the fact that we're staying under the green, I'll assume saw nothing there. Matt Kenseth third. Sorry, Wally. Todd Levine fourth. Mark Martin fifth. Just looking a little deeper into the running order. We've got Bobby Labonte, Jerry Nadeau, Mike Wallace, Sterling Marlin, and Kenny Wallace now making up the top 10.
I was just going to say, it'd be interesting to see where the debris came from. If it came from the 36 car. You know, if that call came, that's what, you know, when you're down a lap and you see the leaders coming, boy, you see all kinds of things on the racetrack hoping to get that yellow.
Hud Strickland's got some troubles, Marty.
Yeah, Alan, he's been on 7 cylinders for about 15 laps now, and he was joking around with the crew saying, I think it's getting ready to blow up, so they all stood up and waved goodbye ceremoniously to the engine, but looks like it is living at the moment. This is a Yates engine, just to mention that, but certainly on 7 cylinders, they're trying to diagnose the problem as to what it might be right now.
Well, Mike Wallace has moved out of line, trying to go towards the front.
And Ken Schrader, Wally, talking about looking for caution because he's going to get lapped right here.
Oh, Bobby. Mark Martin pulled up right in front of Mike. Yeah. Goodbye.
Jeez. John Andretti slowing down. On his way. Well, he went past the pit lane. Bill, what's wrong with Andretti?
Well, they really don't know, Alan, other than the fact his foot's to the floor and the car just keeps getting slower and slower and slower. He said he hasn't lifted or anything. It's just like the power is slowly seeping away. This was going to be hopefully a big weekend for the Petties. 2 cars qualifying in row 4, the 43 and the 45, but John lost his primary car in that final practice crash and now slowing around at the back of the pack, apparently losing power every lap.
And the dismal season for Petty Enterprises continues. If you were with us in our pre-race show, Bill documented well the struggles as they try and pick the pieces up and rebuild that once very proud program.
I think he's coming in. I can hear him downshifting right there.
So John headed toward the garage. Kyle is running 13th.
And here's Jerry Nadeau coming down pit road. Marty?
Yeah, Benny, he said that I think I've got a flat tire and radioed in that he needed to come down and change all 4 tires on the car. Remember in the first run, they kind of left the draft on purpose. We're hoping to come up front later on in the race, and they had such a great pit stop. They were up front. They just decided to see what the car could do. They will take on 4 tires. They will again make no adjustments. He's very happy with the chassis. This will put them off sequence and unfortunately out of the draft. It'll only be a 2-tire stop. Tony Furr just called for that while they were over there. They thought it might be a left side tire, right side tire. They did not know, so they decided to make it a 2-tire stop, and they decided it was probably the right front tire that is indeed down on Jerry Nadeau's car.
Oh, Matt Kenseth ducking low there through the tri-oval. There's Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 4 car this week. Winston Cup restrictor plate debut. the way, Jerry Nadeau running 8th at the time of that unscheduled pit stop. Couple of Chevrolets, then 3 Fords, then a Pontiac, and a Dodge.
I think you'll see some manufacturer gang up go here in a little bit, BP.
It looks to me like that Matt Kenseth and the 66 of Top 09 have tried a couple times to gang up and go by Junior and Michael Waltrip, but they're not having a lot of success doing that.
Looking back on Ricky Craven, last week's winner, running back in 30th place. Dave Burns.
And crew chief Mike Beam, a big part of that victory for Ricky Craven. In fact, Mike was a guy who, when he heard about Ricky and interviewed Ricky, it was the first time that he had ever really crossed paths with him. Never talked to him before. And he said, even though I knew Ricky had injuries before, he said, I wasn't worried about him. I was going to let him prove himself as a driver. And at the beginning of this year, he ran well at Daytona, and then he ran great at Rockingham. And Mike said, I knew we had a driver. So last week when they won, for Mike Beam, it was his first win as a crew chief since a 1994 Southern 500 with Bill Elliott. A great day for Mike Beam and for Ricky Craven.
Talked with Ricky earlier this weekend about the psychological side of racing here at Talladega.
Oh, I think that it's an emotional race. There are times during the day where you're really upset with someone, and then there are times where you give somebody a thanks and wave your hand at them. The next lap you might be shaking your fist again. It's really an emotional race because it's not a physical race. The physical race was last week at Martinsville. This is a mental game here.
Yeah, I worked with Mike Beam a little bit. He was trying to help us with the 75 team towards the end of last year. Boy, he was really great to work with. Really knowledgeable, low-key, great with setups.
Jerry Nadeau's back in, Marty. I guess it wasn't a tire, huh?
Well, I would say not, Alan. And they diagnosed the problem, and it is a broken right front shock for Jerry Nadeau. And the shock mount on the bottom is actually what broke. And we'll show you the shock in just a second. But that was the problem for Jerry Nadeau. He was feeling a problem in the right front. It was the shock, not the tire.
86 laps complete, coming up on 250 miles here at Talladega. Michael Waltrip is your leader on NBC. I don't think Elvis is on that CD.
No, he's no banjos either.
But he is in the building. As we saw going to the commercial a minute ago, all kinds of people want to see NASCAR racing at the world's fastest speedway. And we're glad you're with us on NBC this afternoon as we bring you the EA Sports 500 from Talladega, presented by Dodge. Jeff Gordon, the championship leader, riding along in 19th place as you look at how the drivers in contention for the noble $5 million bonus are faring so far. That's the top 5 finishers from the Richmond race. If they win the race today, they get $1 million bonus. A fan and a consumer promotion gets $1 million. Plus the top 5 finishers today qualify to race for the $1 million bonus at Las Vegas next March. Michael Waltrip has been out in front for some time now. Waltrip leading 37, make it 38 laps consecutively. So almost all the way since the last pit stop, he's been up front. Bobby Hamilton a moment ago pulled out of traffic and dropped way to the back. Bill, what's going on?
Temperatures rising on the 55. In fact, he said one of his temperature gauges was pegged and then fell back down to 2 1/4. So the crew talked it over with him on the radio, leaving him out there for maybe about 10 or 12 more laps because the temperature has come down a little bit. But the 55 car could be a possible victim of overheating here at Talladega.
I talked to Jimmy Elliott this morning on the crew chief on the 55 car, and I noticed a piece of tape in the grill, the top grill on the left side. You see that? You can see it there, right above Carlo AR. And I said, why do you have it open on the bottom and that piece of tape